On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick will be breaking down their top 5 Star Wars games of all time. And you never know what else they may say. You know that Matt, he could take you down a tangent, but Nick will always bring us back. Let's cue up the Star Wars Time Show. Hey now everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode of Star Wars Time Show. Thanks Matt for that introduction. We appreciate it. All right, Nick, so yeah, you heard the guy. We're going to talk about our personal top 5 Star Wars video games of all time, which is a timely subject considering that for the first time since, 2009-ish, we're going to be getting a proper Star Wars third person, first person, who knows how many persons, but it's not going to be a fucking Battlefront. That's what I'm trying to get out of my mouth. So Nick and I, we kind of sat around the campfire here and we're like, let's kind of reminisce on some of these games that we really appreciated before Disney bought the license, gave the video game license to EA, and then it basically just stuck that license up its ass and has only vomited out loot box games since. So Nick, let's go ahead and get right into it. Top 5. Number 5, what is your 5th favorite Star Wars game of all time, my friend?
My number 5 is one that we speak about pretty often here on the Star Wars Time Show, and it's SWTS. It's Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, the mobile game.
SWTS.
I mean, the amount of time that we've put into talking about this game on the podcast should go to show you guys who are loyal listeners or even relatively new listeners how fun and how rewarding this game is to play. So let me just run down some things that I like about it. One, it's easily accessible. It's right on my phone. I can play it anywhere. I'm at work. I got 5 minutes. I can play it. On the toilet, I can play it. It's free. And you don't have to pay for it, okay? Like, have I cracked and paid some real dollars for this game? Yes, I have, but you don't have to. Matt has been a free-to-play player for a long time until he finally bit the bullet at Star Wars Celebration.
And by these assholes, I mean my co-host here, Nick, and Ryan, the intern. Actually, at Star Wars Celebration, they got me all lubed up on IPAs and talked me into spending $60 fucking dollars on a ship pack so I could unlock the Han's Millennium Falcon, which in the end's been worth it because I'm essentially placing in the top 10 in my ship shard, but you know, $60 is $60. But anyways, I've had 3 years of gameplay from SWTS. I guess I could throw him a dime.
Yeah, it's well worth the dime too. 3, there's just unlimited amounts of content in this game. Like, I've been playing it for pretty steadily now for about a year to a year and a half, and there are so many things that I don't have unlocked in this game. You know, like Jedi training Rey, Darth Revan, Jedi Knight Revan. I don't have my Thrawn 7-star yet. I'm only at 6. Then you have all of the new characters coming out that you also have to build up squads to unlock. Chewbacca, C-3PO. I mean, it's a never-ending stream of content from the guys at Capital Games, and it just feels so rewarding to be able to, like, turn on your phone. You got 5 minutes, and you play a Star Wars game that you truly fucking enjoy.
Exactly.
So that's what I really like about it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Nick. I mean, it's let's just say, I'm going to tease people here. It's on my list. It's not number 5. It's actually a lot closer to the beginning. So I'll kind of give my thoughts, in-depth thoughts on SWTS when we get there, but he's not kidding around. If you're a Star Wars fan and you're always looking for something to kill the time while you're on the go or just sitting around, you've got to try SWTS. I think I just wrote a commercial for them. It even rhymed. It's like a little... it was kind of lyrical, but I mean, you can't beat it. You can't beat it. I went 3 years without spending $1, and I probably play it combined close to 2 hours a day. I'd say that's well worth the download. Again, F2P. If you don't like it, delete it.
Perfect.
All right, so my number 5, Nick, and this is one that a lot of people are going to laugh at, and they may even tune out and say, if this guy's putting this on a top Star Wars games of all time list, he's clearly a fucking idiot. But I'm going to stick to my guns. I put a lot of time in this game. It brought my friends, my roommates when we were in college a lot of joy, and that is Star Wars Masters of the Terras Kasi, which was a fighting game, like literally kind of Virtua Fighters, but with Star Wars characters that came out for the original PlayStation back in the 90s. As I said, it's been universally panned by critics and most Star Wars fans and gamers. Everyone thinks it was terrible. But for some reason, my friends and I in college would play this every single night. It's one of those deals, I guarantee any of you that have gone to college, lived in a dorm, lived in an apartment with buddies, you probably had a game that all you played at night to kind of wind down, drink to, do your drugs to, whatever. For us, for a while, at least in 99, it was Star Wars Masters of the Terrascasi. And Nick, it just, I mean, you could play as Vader, Han Solo, Boba Fett, Luke, Mara Jade was in it, a Tusken Raider. And that, like I said, it was a fighting game, you know, Street Fighter-ish, Virtua Fighter-ish. They had special moves, counters, combos. But it never caught on, Nick. People just didn't want a Star Wars fighting game.
But you know who did want one? It's the creators of the Soul Calibur video game, because every fucking Soul Calibur that comes out, you have Star Wars characters that eventually get in there. Bandai Namco is the developers of the game, and they put, like, Darth Vader's been in it. Yoda's been
I remember,
in it.
what was that? Soul Calibur 4, I believe, for the 360 era, PS3 era, I believe, had Yoda and Vader.
Yep, they were both in it. I think they even threw some Star Wars characters. I think they threw Vader back into the newest Soul Calibur. But, like, yes, this idea of a Street Fighter, Virtua Fighter-esque Star Wars game wasn't popular back then, but there are people who really enjoyed it. And I really do think that now, if you gave, you know, Ed Boon and the people over at
NetherRealms. Oh my God, I was just thinking that. I mean, that just gave me a hard on. Could you imagine a Mortal Kombat style Star Wars fighting game? I mean, they've done it for DC, where they actually tell a great story. If any of you, if you've not played, what was that, Injustice?
At
least the first one. It's one of the best video game stories ever.
It was really fun, yeah.
Right, and it's in a fucking fighting game. So, I mean, NetherRealm kind of changed that genre by giving it real stories. I've heard MK11's story is the best ever. So, yeah, Nick, you really kind of nailed what I was thinking or hoping for. It's never going to happen. I think fighting games have kind of lost their favor with a lot of people. My generation, fighting games dominated the arcades. Yes, you actually had to go to places to play against other live humans. I'll never forget slapping my quarters up on a MK1, MK2 cabinet or Street Fighter 2. I got next, winner stays, loser pays type of stuff. But for the 90s, I have a soft spot in my heart for Terrascasi. And the art form, the fighting art form, at least got brought up and put into Solo, if you remember, Nick. That's how Kira was trained in her hand-to-hand combat, is in that style. So my number 5, Masters of the TK, probably not on anyone's list unless it's the worst video games of all time list.
Yeah, just make sure if you haven't heard of it to go watch some YouTube videos out there. They're up there. You can find it.
It's gonna look a little dated, but just hey,
check it out. But so, like, here's
20 years ago, it was pretty fantastic.
So you guys might start to see a theme kind of evolve here within our top 5. So as you know, there's a bit of an age gap between me and Matt. I think it's 7-8 years. So I wasn't really able to make my video game decisions and buy my own games in the era of, like, the Super Nintendo and the early PlayStation era and stuff like that. So a lot of my games that are in my top 5 tend to lean towards the PlayStation 2 era, late PlayStation era, just because that's when I came to my maturity as a gamer. Whereas Matt, being older than me, he was able to kind of, like he said, play Masters of the Terrascasi when he was in college. And a lot of these games that I wasn't really able to jump into as a kid because my parents were in control of the video game system. So you may see a little bit of
basically what he's trying to say is I'm essentially a geriatric old asshole, and he's this young, virile young man.
That's exactly what I'm getting to. Matt was using controllers that had only A and B buttons on them. Exactly. They didn't even have
people. They had fucking cords that you had to plug into the console for Christ's sake.
Plug them in. You didn't even have analog sticks.
Yeah, our TVs back then, we used to have to put them on channel 3 or 4 just to get the damn game to show up.
Old days.
Thanks, dude. Yeah.
I remember that. I remember
old
that
pile
too.
of shit. When you bring this up, I'm thinking like, why is this guy not a prequel homeboy? Like, you literally should be a prequel homer. I mean, that's how young you are.
I'm right on that edge. 88, I was born, so but I did. I had an original Nintendo. I played it with my dad. Like, me and my dad would play Super Mario Brothers. Me and my dad would play Kirby.
So now Nick's
Kirby's
saying I'm
Adventures.
basically as old as his dad.
He is. Matt is, my dad is in his 60s. Matt's clipping right there.
I'm right behind him, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, man. So what's your number 4 then, Mr. New School Gamer?
My number 4 is the original Battlefront 2.
Yes.
So
very good.
With Battlefront 2, what I really loved about it was for me playing it on PlayStation, it had everything that I really ever wanted in a Star Wars game. It had space combat that was actually like pretty intuitive and pretty fun to play. It had the ground combat where you're playing as the commandos or you're playing as the CIS. You have the ability to play as the Jedi. And then also what was really cool in that game and what I spam played as much as I could was there was the heroes versus villains mode where it's just basically every good guy, every bad guy thrown onto a Tatooine battleground, and then you just massacre everybody. And when I would play that, I would basically play, if I was playing Dark Side, I would play Darth Maul. And if I was playing Light Side, I would play Ayala Secura because Ayala Secura had the dual lightsabers. She was the only one who had them. And this is how it always played out. So I'd play Ayala Secura on Light Side, and you're playing to 150 kills. I get like 100 kills on her, but my team still loses. And then I go and I play Dark Side. I play Darth Maul. I get like 85 kills and my team wins. Like, it was just so frustrating. But that's what I really loved about it, is it gave you the opportunity to play everything in the Star Wars galaxy that game encompassed. So obviously it was prequel era. You got air combat, you got ground combat, you got force user combat, you got force users versus force users. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, dude, I actually, before we whittled these down to just our personal 5, I mean, I had the Battlefronts up there, 1 and 2, because they were fantastic. I don't even think, did they have online multiplayer at that point?
I think for 2 they
might
introduced it. Yeah, because
but
that
it was still very
played
wonky back then, because I think 2 came out, 05, something like that?
Yeah,
maybe
around
even earlier,
there.
04.
It was still PlayStation 2 generation.
Yeah, it was
the
the original Xbox, like the Xbox, not 1, Xbox 0, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah.
But dude, I can remember, again, the age difference, but I believe the second one, I was on my way working my career, living by myself down in Texas, and I used to just fire that up and play it by myself for hours, as you said, taking on the AI. I loved the original. The second one clearly amped things up when they added you could literally jump in a fucking ship and fly up to space.
Yeah.
And then go take on a ship. It's really, as you talk about this stuff, Nick, I sit here and I scratch my head going, how did EA fuck this up? I mean, they had the blueprint for awesome Battlefront. All they had to do was essentially remaster Battlefront 2. Don't change a thing. Just re-up the visuals and make it modern. No, they broke it down. They ripped out pretty much everything that we loved about it, and it became a lottery game. Essentially, if you like playing the lottery, you like playing Battlefront. And it's a shame because, as Nick said, as he was talking there, all the stuff you used to be able to do, you really could live out your Star Wars fantasies in these original Battlefronts. But alas, EA, DICE dropped the ball. Didn't really give a shit about what gamers wanted, and we got Battlefront 1 and 2, which to me, Battlefront 1 is completely forgettable.
Yeah. 100%.
Battlefront 2, the second coming of Battlefront 2, is okay only because it has that excellent campaign that really is excellent because it adds narrative to Star Wars lore. In terms of the gameplay, it's just essentially playing the multiplayer in little smaller segments on different maps. But those originals, dude, you nailed it. Definitely. I wish I would have kept them on my list, but sometimes you gotta bring in the old school stuff.
Yeah.
Even older than that. So
go with your number 4.
Yeah,
you
my number
introduced us
4
to the old school.
Right. This again will be for people that are probably born in the early 80s, 70s. But there was a trilogy of games that came out for the Super NES, the SNES, if you will. And they were the Super Star Wars games. So you literally had Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, Super Return of the Jedi. I'm just lumping them all together as a Super Star Wars trilogy. It's one of my most memorable action platformers of the time. Again, probably not good games in terms of just straight up gameplay. They're actually quite difficult, as most games were back in the 8 and 16-bit eras. But there's just something about the chiptune Star Wars music, the side-scrolling action, Luke busting out his lightsaber, the boss battles. They actually had racing or flying segments mixed in. I mean, they're quite revolutionary for their time. And I do highly recommend anyone that's got an emulator and you haven't tried any of these, check out the Super Star Wars trilogy from the SNES era. And if you really want to get nuts and frustrate yourself, but still kind of love the experience because of Star Wars, play these Star Wars games for the Nintendo.
Oh, the original.
Oh, yeah.
The original NES.
Oh, yeah. There's some special ones there, my friends. I mean, even back then, they had the Battle on Hoth. You fly out and you got to fight some AT-ATs. But we're talking about the SNES one, Super Star Wars trilogy. Every game, it's all pretty the same. They just tell the story of the movie. So A New Hope, Empire, Jedi, fantastic stuff.
I need to get into those because I really do love that side-scrolling action that was really prominent in SNES days. I mean, you had a ton of games that were built like that. So to play through Star Wars like that is an experience that I really want to.
Yeah, I mean, it's a full-on platformer. I mean, it's basically Super Mario Star Wars, and you control Luke mostly, and he either has a blaster or a lightsaber. So
yeah, I mean, that sounds fucking perfect.
It's a very arcadey type of experience, old school. I don't know. I mean, like I said, don't tell on us. We're not telling you to go do this. Of course, you have to own a copy of the game, but get yourself an emulator, find the ROM, load them up. I don't think you'll be disappointed if you've never played them before.
Yeah, and look, if you have, again, I've heard that this could be done, but if you have SNES Classic, there is apparently ways out there to be able to load games that aren't on there by stock through some method.
Right. And I will admit, I haven't done that, but in terms of these kind of retro collectible mini consoles, that SNES one is heads and tails above the best thing out there. I think this Sega one that's coming out in September is going to be pretty slick. But that SNES one, I mean, if it had the Super Star Wars trilogy on it, that thing would be gold to me.
Yeah. So. I mean, it's super cool that Nintendo.
The 16-bit era, the more I think about it, is probably my favorite era of gaming. I was a huge fan of 32-bit. Obviously, Final Fantasy VII, when that came in, that just smacked me in the face. It was never before done, seen, experienced. But in terms of just pure joy and, to me, just gaming to game, not really immersing yourself in story, it's 8 and 16-bit eras.
16-bit definitely holds I can remember playing NES and I loved it. I played a ton. I played Jackal with my cousins all the time.
Oh yeah, I mean, games that are damn near impossible, but for some reason we still love playing them over and over and over, and we can never beat them. Into them.
But then, I remember the first time I played Super Mario World on Super Nintendo, and I was like, "What the hell?"
I felt like the future just came to me when the SNES showed up. I was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
Yeah,
you've been telling me the NES is where it's at? Are you fucking kidding me, you liars? Look at this shit. All right, anyways, Nick, let's get on to your number 3 choice.
Number 3 for me is the game that really introduced to me and really showed everybody out there who played Star Wars video games and who was a fan of Star Wars what the Force really was and how powerful it could be. And it was Star Wars Force Unleashed, the first one. That came out for PlayStation 2 or 3, right?
Which
Pretty
one?
sure it's. I think it's PlayStation 3.
Yeah, they both were on the last gen.
Yeah, because it was an HD. I remember now because there wasn't no 480 square picture here. This was full HD Star Wars, and you got to experience the Force in a way that you never thought possible before. That first time when you boot up the game and you are immediately in Vader's shoes he tears his way through Kashyyyk, that was something I never thought I would be able to experience as a Star Wars fan or as a video game fan. But you literally just blast open a giant wooden gate with the Force,
and then you could individually target the Force, you could choke out a stormtrooper, grab 2 of them.
that was the coolest thing, is using the Havoc engine, the physics engine that they did within that game allowed them to do that. Like, you could interact with two things, independently, but then, like, say, like what Matt was saying, you force lift up two stormtroopers. If you bring them close enough to each other, they start like trying to grab each other and stuff. The stuff that you could do with the Force was incredible. And then also just the characters in it. Sam Witwer playing Starkiller, Galen Marek was fantastic, showing the formation of the Rebel Alliance in that game, and then just like the Ram Koda coming in as your Jedi Master who was sequestered on this garbage planet, and then the scene where you literally like pull a Star Destroyer out of the fucking atmosphere is insane. To me, everything about that game embodied exactly what I thought in my mind the Force was. Using the lightsaber, the flow of the combat was perfect. The Force abilities that you had felt so powerful. It was just so much fun to play. I think I've beat it 3-4 times. I played it so much that I was just like trying to find all the hidden little artifacts. Like, I know that there's like a black lightsaber crystal that's super hard to get, so I want to find that, and I wanted to find all of the little individual pieces.
Oh yeah,
so
dude.
it was great.
You kind of hit all the high points on Force Unleashed, which, I mean, honestly, it's definitely top 5. I was just trying to fold in some older games onto my list to give us a little variety, so we weren't just like, yep, same one, same one, I agree, okay, we're done. But I'm with Nick. It was not only the gameplay. Like, the gameplay was fantastic. This is a game that I also played 3 or 4 times. It was a super challenge to beat it on the hardest level. This is when I was during my kind of achievement whore days where I lived to get 1,000 on games. It drove how I played games. It was insane. This happened for like 2 years where I'd literally just buy games to get achievements. But anyways, Force Unleashed had fantastic gameplay. Great visuals, and the game engine for the time were kind of unheard of. But also, as Nick said, it told a fantastic story, which unfortunately is trashed now because of the canon reboot. But it was great for its time. I mean, Starkiller had a great arc. You didn't really... the first time I watched it play, I was like, whoa. I mean, there's a lot of like, holy shit moments going on. Like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And like Nick said, you see the Rebel Alliance, Leia shows up. It was just a fantastic game. It had the gameplay, it had the story, and to me, that's all you really need for a great game. And then when you throw the Star Wars license at it, it's essentially, as I said, a greatest game of all time for someone like myself. So, good choice there, Nick. My number 3, again, sticking with the old school, so you old people, those of you in your late 30s, early 40s, 50s, you probably remember this one if you gamed as a little kid. But the X-Wing or the TIE Fighter Flight Simulator series. I can't tell you how many hours I used to sit in my parents' basement with a little shitty joystick, like a flight stick, playing these games on CDs. I think X-Wing I might even had on floppies. But, I mean, Nick, I don't know if you've ever played these or seen them. But they're essentially flight simulators set in Star Wars. So you would be in an X-Wing or a TIE Fighter. You'd be given a mission, you're the escort, you got to protect this ship or this frigate, or you got to take out this ship or this frigate. And it was very well done. It really immersed you into the role of a pilot of an X-Wing or a TIE. The missions were fun. And like I said, just kind of made you feel like you were a part of the universe.
Yeah, I've definitely seen videos of this, and I think... I'm trying to think back. I think they may have included this game on the Wii Virtual Console. It was either this or it was Rogue Squadron. And I played whichever one it was on the Wii Virtual Console because I didn't.
It would have been Rogue Squadron. I mean, this has been PC only.
Yeah.
Forever.
Okay. So, but I have seen videos of it, and I could tell just by watching the videos that it was a super special experience at the time because, I mean, really, like you were saying, Matt, you didn't have games that really gave you the ability to live within the experience.
No,
like
not back then, dude.
No, yeah, like when you played Super Star Wars trilogy on SNES, like you're literally like pixels jumping across the screen,
and like chiptunes, like ding 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 ding.
Like a flight simulator like this, you're assuming the role. Like you can say, like,
it did
I am
everything. I
fucking
mean,
Wedge Antilles. Like
you would hear people over the radio, like, go this way. Someone's on my 6. You got to up your shields. Shift your energy to your speed. It's like, I felt like a fucking pilot. And when I was little watching Star Wars, I mean, outside of the lightsabers and the Jedi, my favorite aspect, which drew me into it, and which at one point in time made me want to go to space, was the flying. The X-Wings, the TIE fighters, the space battles. So being able to kind of live that fantasy out, albeit in a basement, it was just a blast. I mean, like I said, I felt as if I was a part of the Rebel Alliance or an Imperial, and I was a key member of taking out the other side.
Yeah, super special at the time. And even like if you think about it now, like we've never really had a recreation of that. Like flight simulators have kind of fallen out of favor recently, but I guarantee you if you release an updated version of X-Wing TIE Fighter, people would jump on it.
They go
especially
nuts. Or at least people in my generation, they'd go absolutely nuts.
Well, dude, like if you do that now with a VR headset, like if you did Oculus Quest,
now you're getting my nipples hard.
like
quit teasing me like this.
That would be the perfect avenue for it. Like VR has made this huge surge in our culture now, and we finally have a wireless headset coming out, Oculus Quest. Like you put something like X-Wing TIE Fighter on there.
That's out, by the way. That's out with the first episode of Vader Immortal.
Yeah, with Vader Immortal now.
You and I jumping right on top of it.
If I had
we're all over that type of stuff and the comics and new books. We got you covered, all things Star Wars time.
Look, if I had the greenbacks to
I'll give us a pass on the quest, but the fact that we don't do shit with books or comics is pathetic.
I'm very close to finishing my first Star Wars novel, and then once I finish it, I know it's just gonna cascade from there. I only got 50.
We got to get you an Audible account or something.
I know, right?
Because I can't break myself of my sports talk habit. I mean, I'm either Howard Stern or sports talk. I have no time to listen to books, so. But I'm just playing around. I mean, we do have a few areas around the Star Wars time offices that we lack, and the ones that require reading with your eyes and little words were really bad.
And look, if we ever get to the point where we can do Star Wars time full time, which is a pipe dream, and it would be just the best thing.
Yeah, well, we probably have to go back on all my statements from the last cast if you listen, where I said we're never going to do Patreon and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know.
You never know what's going to happen after I have a few Coors Lights.
It would take a general miracle for us to be able to do this full time, but if we did, I guarantee you we would be doing every corner of the galaxy. We would be doing comics, we'd be doing novels, we'd be doing VR games, everything. So, but just as it is now,
if you need two assholes to work for you to just talk about dumb shit, let us know.
Yeah, we're available. All right, so let's move on to my number 2. Yep. My number 2, I played this game so much. I loved it. It was the first time that I really it's the first really kind of delve into the expanded universe that I took even before I started reading the books. And it's Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. So this is the sequel to Jedi Outcast. Jedi Outcast was the first one where you played as Kyle Katarn. And then Jedi Academy is the one where you play through as Jaden Core, who is a student in Luke's Jedi, training facility, and you basically uncover a Sith plot with this Sith named Tavion, and you go on this massive adventure throughout the galaxy, visiting tons of different planets, building up your Force abilities. But what I really enjoyed about it was, one, the combat at that time was so different than anything that I've played in a Star Wars game. Like, it was real action-oriented combat. You're not talking about, turn-based or anything like that. Like, you're actually swinging the lightsabers, moving around in real time. The Force powers were super cool. Like, you used Force lightning on somebody and their whole fucking body was just completely covered in Force lightning. and just the story itself I thought was really fun. And like I said, it was my first taste of the expanded universe that really got me into the expanded universe in terms of, things that actually happened after the movies that we had seen. So it really got me into, the novels and everything like that came after the movies. So just the gameplay of that, the story that was told, and the fact that it really introduced me to this whole new section of Star Wars that I didn't know was out there. Like, I saw the end of Return of the Jedi and I was like, okay, that's where Luke, Han, and Leia's story ends. And then I play Jedi Academy. I'm like, holy shit, like, Luke Skywalker's here. He has his own Jedi Academy. He's training, a new generation of Jedi. And I was like, well, I want to learn more about this. And I dove right into the novels. So it was just a fantastic game, a fantastic introduction to the EU, just all around, and a top tier game for an Xbox, an original Xbox generation game. Like, this was not an HD.
Dude,
this
Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, you could actually multiplayer up with Jedi and like all we used to do is dance for each other. But there was multiplayer in that where you could bring your Jedi in.
Yeah, I know.
Just fight other people.
The PC version, I have it on PC now because obviously Steam sales, you get that shit all the time.
Well, I was looking right now. You can buy the Star Wars Jedi Knight collection, which goes all the way back to Dark Forces. I mean, I didn't include any of these because they are Dark Forces, essentially Star Wars Doom.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, Star Wars Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith, Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast, and then Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. How much for the whole bundle, everybody? All those games, we think?
$10.
$8.75.
$8.75. Wow. Look, if you people out there you don't even have to have a good PC at this point. You could literally have an off-the-shelf Dell laptop. You can play those games. Yeah. You can play those games.
And the last two will work on Mac as well. Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy. So the one Nick is talking about. And he's right. These games, I remember playing them. They're fantastic because back in those days, the early 2000s, outside of the prequel, we didn't know if we were ever getting any Star Wars content. So as Nick was saying with the EU, I didn't care where it was coming from, what stories it was telling, as long as it was telling Star Wars. I was playing and I was enjoying. So I was also a big fan of those. All right, my number 2 is going to be a revisit of Nick's number 5. So we're right back to SWTS, my friends. And you're probably saying, well, we've already heard enough about this. And you're probably right. Just the reason it's my number 2, okay? Let's be real here. Is it a mind-blowing type of game? No. Are you going to get some insane Star Wars narratives told to you that build out the lore of the franchise? Absolutely not. What you will get is a game set in Star Wars that you can literally play every single day for $0 for up to 2 to 3 hours a day. That's why it's number 2. I have never played another video game as much as I've played SWTS over the past 3 years of my life. I'm talking non-Star Wars games, Star Wars games, you name it. No game has gotten the amount of time and attention out of me more than Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. That's why it's my number 2. It earned the number 2 spot, just maybe you want to say it's through attrition. I don't know. It's something that I think about every day. I have to play every day. I do play every day. I play it on the toilet. I play it in my bed. I play it outside. I play it on the couch. I play it at work. I play it while I'm working. I play it while I'm driving, which is stupid, and I'll probably die. The point is, I can't stop playing SWTS. So that's why it's my number 2. All the other things that Nick said, it's true as well. I mean, again, $0, upwards of 2 hours of gameplay a day. There's always something to do. There's always something to collect. There's always something to get better at. So, as I said, it is something that if you have a screen time app, it will always rank in your top 2 or 3 most used apps. It's addicting. It's well done. It gets new content. You could argue that things get a little chintzy these days with some of the meta going on. By meta, we mean the squads for the arena where you compete against other people's squads. Capital Games has kind of pretty much said if you don't have Jedi Knight Revan, Darth Revan, or Malik, you're pretty much not placing in the top 100. But whatever. It's free to play, people. I mean, they got to suck in the whale somehow to make money. So that's my number 2. So go. I'm going to say it again. If you've never tried it, download it. Give it a go. It's free. The worst thing you're going to have to do is put your password in to download it. If you don't like it, delete it. You don't even have to look at it on your home screen. It also syncs across devices. So if you're on iOS, you can pick it up on the iPad and continue on the phone. It's fantastic.
Yeah, well worth the space on your phone. Let's put it that way. I mean, what are you using that space for? Images, pictures, stuff like that.
Something stupid on Snapchat or some piece of crap you want to throw up selfie on Instagram.
No,
I mean, Nick and I have shown you what Instagram's good for. It's for finding awesome looking Star Wars art.
It's very true. It's
about it these days. I don't know what else Instagram is good for outside of maybe if you have kids sharing that for their grandparents. But
yeah.
Anyways, down to the number 1. Ba-ba-da-da! Guess what? We're in line on number 1. So it took us till number 1, but we're in line on number 1. So I'll go ahead and let Nick unveil it, the champion of Star Wars time show video game.
The best Star Wars time video game for both of us is Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, who are we kidding here?
Hands down.
It's not even close. I mean, the fact that this game has had the cultural impact that it has on the Star Wars universe just makes it by default one of the best games, 1, ever made, and 2, within the Star Wars universe. I mean, it tells you a story which it does something that we thought was impossible. It takes Star Wars and it completely removes everything we ever knew about it. But
right,
it also
outside the Force, Jedi, Sith, and lightsabers.
Yeah, there's
all the characters are gone. We didn't know anybody. It's set 1,000 years prior to the Battle of Yavin or whatever. 10,000 years, who knows? It was a whole different world back then. I mean, it gave us a brand new take on Star Wars, and that was risky in and of itself, right? And just as you said, back then in the early 2000s, I mean. What do you mean, Knights of the Old Republic? Give me my fucking Luke Skywalker, motherfucker. Yeah. Give me a prequel game.
Nobody knew what the Old Republic was. They were like, what do you mean, Old Republic? Like, what's going on here? And then you get attached to these characters. You get attached to Bastilla Shan. You get intrigued by, like, what the hell is Malik doing as you're playing this game? And, like, how did he become this all-powerful Sith that's threatening to take over the whole galaxy?
It's even that. It's just a mystery around your character. I mean, you can't tell me the first time you played that you knew what was going on.
Oh, no. Like, even now, like, I've mentioned in previous casts that I was doing another playthrough of the game. Like, even now, like, I know who I am. Like, I know that I am, spoiler alert for a game that's fucking 20 years old, but, like, I know that I'm Darth Revan, but I'm still playing the game. I'm like, I can't, like, this is fantastic. Like, it sucks you in. And the way that it's built, like, sending you to these different planets to have you find these pieces of the star map, and then, you know, revealing things about yourself the further you get in, and then learning about each of your companions' backstory when you talk to Karth and Mission and Canderous and Bastilla and all of them. Like, it was a Star Wars experience like we've never seen before in a video game. And it was really, if you go back to that time period, it's an experience like we've never seen in a video game, period.
I mean, like, it hasn't been replicated.
Yeah.
It really hasn't. I mean, it definitely hasn't been replicated with the Star Wars license, and it's fucking mind-boggling. Because this is another one where I promise you, they could just be like, all right, we're going to throw it through a new engine and make it look like it was made in 2019, and people would spend $80 to play it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would buy the super special edition that comes with the...
I'm playing it right now on a fucking iPad.
Yeah.
I would still play it again if it was super up-res, but the point is, like, why didn't anyone just look at this and do it again? As Nick said, there was nothing ever like it before in Star Wars video games. I mean, it's a full-on Star Wars RPG, right down to nameless main character. You got to decide what type of attributes and perks to give them. You got to decide what party to run. You got to decide what to look for, what quests to do. I mean, I'm not going to say it's open world because it's clearly not, but you could put a lot of input into your character and how the game played out. This was still back in a time where morality was brand new in video games. Now it's a dime a dozen. Are you going to be a bad guy or a good guy, and watch how people react to you? This was all still brand new back then, and you could decide to pursue the dark side or the light. It had the lightsabers and dual lightsabers, bow staff lightsabers. It's just a peach of a game. I mean, it had everything you could want. It had great gameplay. But even better, as Nick has said, the narrative is honestly what sucked me in and has made me a super fan. I mean, that whole story of living out this amnesia dude's life and then figuring out who he was the whole time and the impact on that and all the moments you had, it's just like, holy shit, I was him the whole time. What the fuck? That just adds a whole new light to this entire experience. And it's never been replicated. Even KOTOR 2 was a shell of what the original KOTOR was.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this was in the heyday of BioWare. Like, you can, pre-recent BioWare, you could argue that BioWare was one of the best video game developers on the planet. And
this to me kind of made them mainstream. Mass Effect made them juggernauts.
Yeah.
And then they just pissed it all away.
Yeah. I mean, they had...
Once the doctors left the company, it's just done.
Yeah. They had two franchises that were complete and utter, completely different than each other in Dragon Age and Mass Effect, but then also complete owners of their respective subgenres. And then they just lost it. Like you said, when the studio heads or the creators, the co-founders...
It was two doctors. That's why it's called BioWare. It was literally two doctors that quit being doctors and started a video game studio.
Video games. Yeah, so, I mean, this game, there's not enough good that can be said about it. And if you want to see the impact of this game and what it's still having on the Star Wars universe, just listen to our last podcast where we announced that there is a Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic movie being written right now by Leda Kalogridis, a writer who worked with Martin Scorsese on Shutter Island and has done a ton of great sci-fi work since then.
Is she a Star Wars fan?
Is she a Star Wars fan? Did she play Knights of the Old Republic? Is she writing every line from the movie, from the game down into her script?
Is she really a man?
Does she really understand the Force is the question. So, but this game, this game. Well, dude,
I mean, the other game we fawned all over. I mean, look at its impact on SWTS. I mean, pretty much now, if you don't have Old Republic people, you're not doing shit.
You can't compete. Like, I don't have Jedi Knight Revan or Darth Revan.
Yeah, there's 3 prize characters, legendary characters, based on KOTOR.
Yeah, and 2 of them are the same fucking character.
And the only way to get the characters is to farm other KOTOR characters.
Yeah, and that's another good thing about Galaxy of Heroes. Is like it forces you, quote unquote, to build these.
Oh yeah,
these
man.
Squads.
Next one is the clones. The clones are getting their rework.
Oh yeah.
They now that Padme's out there and they got Anakin reworked, GK, Ahsoka, the clones are getting it next. So they're really going for the a Grand Republic push now.
Yeah, that makes sense. But so yeah, I mean, all of these games are fantastic. They're some of the best out there, but we know that there are some on our list that are not on our list that you guys probably really enjoy. So if one of your favorite Star Wars games did not make our top 5, our
tough shit, top 5, suck it up. It probably wasn't that good.
The games are terrible. No, let us know. Reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you
or tell us how dumb
medias.
Our list was, or at least how dumb my choice of the Masters of the Terraskasi was.
Look,
that's definitely a dumb choice, but that's kind of what I bring to this cast here. I am the dumb, idiot, angry guy.
Everybody has personal favorites, so can't get too mad about that one. They will.
It's the internet, buddy. Trust me. You never know. You never know how people will react on the internet. But hopefully everyone enjoyed this little special topics cast. We try to do these once a week or when time permits, and it was a fun one. So there's 8 or 9 games to go through between the two lists. As Nick said, if you're listening, if you're a Steam player, there's a good chance you can get a bundle of these games for less than $10. So keep your eye out, because these are games that we do feel are worth exploring if you have the means to. Taras Kasi, good luck unless you have an old PS1 and can find the disc. The other ones, I believe, for the most part, outside of the Super Star Wars, you can probably find on PC or a port somewhere. But as we do about this time, we're just going to ask you to please, as always, if you like what you hear, go to StarWarsTime.net and get yourself subscribed. You got links to all the different platforms for the podcast, as well as our YouTube page. That's all you need to know is StarWarsTime.net. You can get your access to all the show material, all the videos through that. All right, people. Until next time, which will be the Proper Friday Show, or as I like to call it, the Matt Shit Show. May the Force be with you, always.